Welcome to the Hero's Journey Project, episode number 14. This one's pretty exciting. Same as always, we read some great comics. I'm trying to add some more descriptions into what I'm talking about. But join me as we go through some comics from 1943, the golden age of comics. Let's see what I've been up to. Share the screen here. All right, there we go. So first up, Sensation Comics number 19 from DC, July 1943. So this has a really dramatic cover. I like it. It's got Wonder Woman trying to beat a speeding train. I always thought Superman was the guy to beat speeding trains, but apparently Wonder Woman can do it also. Wonder Woman in her story has her bracelets removed by an old foe, Mavis, and she goes berserk with uncontrolled strength. So apparently, Wonder Woman has so much strength that those bracelets help keep that strength in check. And strength in terms of sort of she just can't even control it. It's like unbridled fury when she removes her bracelets. In the Mr. Terrific story, Wanda Wilson, his secretary, wants more action. And so she ends up working for some crooks that are selling phony stocks. Mr. Terrific ends up breaking up that ring. And Wildcat breaks up a protection racket. Simple enough. Typical story. There was a recent sale of a CGC 8.5 from March 2020 for $1,320. Not too shabby. Here we have Star Spangled Comics number 22, DC, July 1943. Looks like we have the Guardian signing an autograph for the Newsboy Legion. In that story, the Guardian breaks up a ring of crooks that are trying to get rid of the Newsboy Legion, because Newsboy Legion is a thorn in the side of some crooks. The Star Spangled Kid and Stripesy change duties and barely shut down a baby switching scam. Oh, sorry, there's a typo in switching on my slide. So usually Star Spangled Kid is the brains of the operation and Stripesy is the brawn. But in this story, they switch. So Star Spangled Kid is the brawn while Stripesy is the brains. Because they switch, they barely manage to shut down the baby switching scam. So goodness knows they learned a lesson. Each one has their own role and they really need to stick to what they're good at. And the Liberty Bell thwarts a Nazi sending out coded messages using butterflies. Robot Man catches thieves who steal scrap. Now, of course, in this era, everything was rationed. Scrap metal was being used to be recycled to make weapons, military weapons, vehicles, explosives, anything was being used and recycled for the war effort. And to be fair, this is during a time when everything was being rationed as well. So I believe all the resources were being used and everything was actually quite valuable. So it actually made sense that this was a story to be told. There was a recent CGC, the most recent CGC sale I could find was an 8.0 from February 2019. It was $504. Next up, Superman number 23. This is a bi-monthly issue, so it's DC for July and August 1943. So it's 4 Superman stories. You got a really good cover here. Interesting. Really sticks out. I love it. Nazis trying to take him out. Looks like from a submarine after they've just sunk a ship. They're a little panicked. Superman's coming at them. Great cover. Like the cover. But the stories I find are a little lacking in their quality. Yeah, in the first story, Superman takes part in a mock military battle. All right. In the next, Superman stops a killer out for revenge. Okay. In the next story, Superman goes after a villain called the Dude, who creates cheap knockoffs of expensive designer dresses. So really, this is it. Your villain is creating knockoffs. So people are buying these expensive designer dresses, thinking that they're one of a kind, beautiful dresses, only to walk down the street and find that they're being sold for pennies on the dollar at another store. And this is what Superman does with his time. He's breaking up this ring. In the final story, Superman helps a pitcher who keeps being drugged by sports gamblers. See, the pitcher was being drugged, so he'd end up not playing as well in the games or not being able to make it. And then the sports gamblers could bet against his team and win lots of money. So Superman put a stop to that. I gotta say, seems like Superman's having a bit of a slow week there if this is the best that he can come up with. Now, to be fair, I didn't find the story material that interesting, but it didn't stop. It doesn't stop this comic from being well sought after. There's a recent CGC sale of 9.4 from August 2020 was $17,250. So you're buying this comic because it's Superman. He's all throughout the book. He's on the cover, great cover, golden age book. And I mean 9.4. That's a really high grade for a book that's almost 80 years old. Always blows me away. So now we're moving on to August 1943. First up is Action Comics 63 from DC, August 1943, right? Nice cover. You got action. You got some good action on the cover there, and the yellow seems to really pop on these action covers of Superman on them. Really like it. So in the Superman story in the comic, Superman loses his memory after two planets collide. So two planets collide, light years away. By the time the rays from those planets reach Earth, they end up knocking Superman back. He falls off a balcony, off a ledge, off a building, and hits his head, loses memory. Some crooks take advantage. Chaos ensues. The good news is he does get his memory back. Zatara, he stops the pirate of pleasure who seemingly lures ships with music. Seemingly because it's really a big magnet that's luring ships away. And the pirate of pleasure is plundering away. I found it was an interesting read. Here, the most recent CGC sale I could find was a 3.5 from June of 2020, and it sold for $528. The next comic we have up for grabs. I was going to say, like, this is an auction. It's not an auction. Next comic I was reading was Adventure Comics 87. It's a DC comic, again bi-monthly, so it's August, September 1943. In the Sandman story, he helps clear the name of a man who keeps falling asleep. This man keeps falling asleep, hates everything about sleep, hates everything, including Sandman. And but Sandman ends up helping him clear his name after he's framed for murder. In the Starman story, Starman breaks up a ring of thieves that hide stolen goods in ugly paintings. Is what it is. You have the most recent CGC sale I could find was 7.0 from November 2015. It was $430. So it's 5 years ago, 7.0. Some $430. This isn't, I don't find it's a great cover. Just the Sandman's legs just seem all over the place. You've got Sandy's head looks like it's not right. You got some proportion issues, maybe. Not the greatest cover. The stories are okay. They don't do it for me. And I have to say, my problem is that I really loved the original look for Sandman before he got the sidekick. Just when he was running around in a trench coat and a gas mask. I don't know. It gave him such a unique look. Now, it just kind of looks like all the superheroes of the day wearing their tights, which, look, I get it. Everyone was excited about superheroes at that time. So that's what, I assume that's why they changed up his costume. Okay, another pretty iconic cover anyway. Batman number 18. It's Batman's bi-monthly at this time, so it's from DC, of course, and it's August, September 1943. It's 4 Batman stories. In the first story, you have Batman who foils a hotel scam run by Tweedledee and Tweedledum, where they rob rich guests. And then Batman gets into trouble when Robin has to stay home to work on his studies. And Batman, in the third story, Batman spends some time with the police emergency squad in their green truck. Now, I believe this is the first time you see Batman wearing hip waders. And just for fun, actually, my next slide is of Batman wearing those hip waders. I'm going to go out on a limb and say it's the first time he's wearing hip waders. Maybe his first costume change of the era. But really, I just thought it was interesting. You can see Batman in hip waders. He's helping a guy who's stuck in the quagmire where he's sinking. So Batman's got to help get him out. So let's go back to that Batman 18 for a sec. So that was a fun story. But in the fourth story, Batman stopped the crime doctor's mobile operation. So it was the crime doctor's second and last appearance. It's the death of Matthew Thorne on Earth 2. So I believe Crime Doctor comes back as a different incarnation later on, I believe, closer to the copper or bronze or copper age. But this will be his last appearance in the Golden Age because he did die. Most recent CGC sale I could find was from September 2020. That was for $2,606. I gotta say, I enjoyed reading this book. It was a lot of Batman. You got 4 stories there. And I'll tell you, I'm always wondering why Batman was popular. I get why he's popular now. He's really cool. Everybody loves him. He's been around forever. The merchandising stories are great. I get it. All the characters and the villains are all entrenched in our minds. But how did this character have such lasting power? To just, because there's so many characters, there's so many stories and characters I'm reading about from the 40s. But Batman made it out of the 40s. Superman, easy enough, right? He's iconic. He's idolized because he's such a goody two shoes. He's strong. He stands for good and all that stuff. But Batman, like the guy Batman, he dresses up in a costume with a bat on it, and he runs around with a sidekick and colorful tights, and named Robin. Like it, it blows me away how this guy got out of the 40s. Not that I have anything against Batman. I love Batman. I'm wondering, at that time, what made everyone who was reading comics carry this character forward. And I have to say, I think I'm finding out the answer. I think I'm finding out the answer is that Batman has the best rogues gallery. He does. His villains are the best. So you're always seeing colorful characters. Whereas you see Superman, he's like trying to help a pitcher who's having a hard time. He's hanging out with the military doing a mock battle. Like, all right, so what? But Batman, he's in this issue, for instance, he's dealing with Tweedledee and Tweedledum. And I get it that like in the next story, he gets in trouble because Robin's not around to help him because he made Robin stay home and work on his studies and whatever. Sure, it was kind of a goofy story. So make kind of a fun thing. And then in the next one, Batman's focusing. He wants to highlight the people that help in emergency situations. So this time it's the police emergency squad. So he's doing like a ride along with these guys. And I thought it was going to be dumb. It was a fun story. I found it interesting. And then afterwards, he's got the crime doctor. So who's another interesting character. I really, it's too bad that they killed him off. But this is what has made Batman last so long. It was just different. It wasn't just like every other goofball wearing spandex running around. Like you see Sandman and his sidekick before him. Like, hey, okay, so what? It just like everybody else. But Batman, he's just different. I love it. So hats off to Batman. I'm understanding why he's such an iconic character and why he's standing the test of time. All right, so we saw this slide. This was our hip waders. Love it. Next up, we have Blue Beetle, number 24 from Hollyoak. That's from August 1943. It says skull cover. Seems to be pretty collectible. People love those kind of things. And now, what's interesting is the last Blue Beetle comic only had one Blue Beetle story. Now, in this one, we're back to two Blue Beetle stories. And I have to say, it seems like these guys are really not, when they were publishing these books, they weren't making up their minds. testing out different things, I guess, but they're really having a hard time picking a direction. First story, Blue Beetle stops an orangutan from committing robberies. Ooh, someone's committing robberies using an orangutan. So great. Blue Beetle steps in. In the next one, Blue Beetle finds a haunted house that is being used as a Nazi hideout. So the Nazis are scaring people away so that they don't get disturbed when they're hatching all their schemes from their haunted house hideout. Most recent CGC sale I could find was a 9.2 that sold in April of 2010. So 10 years ago, over 10 years ago, and it was $560. Interesting books. Blue Beetle stories are okay. I have to say they're short, they're like 6 to 10 pages. So not much going on there. It's not like, they're quick reads. Now, next up, we have Captain America Comics number 48. It's a timely issue from August 1943. Another Alex Schomburg cover. Another heavy trade dress cover that I really wish we could have seen more art from Alex Schomburg on this cover, although, to be fair, as usual, there's lots going on. And just such a great cover. Again, Alex Schomburg, everybody loves him. He created so many covers that had just so many things going on. I mean, of course, you got Captain America jumping in there and Bucky shooting and Axis shooting, but it's great. Love it. So you got a few stories going on here. In the first one, Captain America deals with a dinosaur being controlled by Nazis. So somehow in the Arctic, they found a dinosaur. They were able to bring it back to life, put the brain of a Nazi sympathizer in the dinosaur, and let it loose to wreak havoc. So, and then finally, Captain America is able to reason with the dinosaur, the brain in the dinosaur, I guess, and put a stop to it. In the second story, you have the Human Torch, who attends a Nazi satire ballet, and he has to keep the actors from being murdered. So apparently, real Nazis didn't enjoy that this ballet was being put on, and they're making fun of Hitler, and it just didn't appreciate it. So they tried to stop it by killing the actors. Captain and Human Torch didn't appreciate that. In the third story in the book, you have Captain America who investigates a ghost train led by a phantom engineer. So ghost train was just a front by Nazis that wanted to derail trains going through a town and stop troop movements, essentially. Captain America figured out the ruse, put a stop to that pretty quick. Final story, Captain America takes on a headless monster. Basically, this small little dude people made fun of all his life, didn't appreciate it. So he created this mechanical beast. It's a headless monster, and he got inside, terrorized people, and wreaked havoc in the town nearby. And Captain America put a stop to that too. He's just that kind of guy. So the most recent CGC sale I could find was a 2.0 from August of 2020. And that one sold for $1,100. So again, low grade book, but $1,100. That's the power of Captain America and Alex Schomburg, I would expect, because that's another great cover. This was an interesting read. A lot of Captain America, some Human Torch sprinkled in there. I found the stories interesting. So some of these books are heavy on the characters, like you're reading 3 Captain America stories there, but it's interesting stuff. I found it good. And that'll do it for this week. So those are comics I've read. I hope giving more of an in-depth sort of review, description of all these books is helping, so people can better appreciate what's in the guts of the book and understand what I'm reading about. Of course, if you have any suggestions, let me know in the comments. I'll be happy to take them up and see what we can do. Again, I'm working on this podcast, trying to improve as I go. I evolve. We're watching the characters evolve. It's great. So I'm going to wrap it up. thank you very much for tuning in. Appreciate your time. And we will see you next week. Thanks very much.